Hello, Education 2220 students. I hope everyone's had a great last couple of weeks. I know we just came out of a 2 week module, Module 3. Module 3 really focused on the different categories of disabilities, specifically two categories that we put them in, high incidence or low incidence. So hopefully that gave you sort of a base understanding. I know that special ed is a lot, and there's a lot of information, a lot to learn, a lot to know. And I don't want it to overwhelm you. I just want you to understand that this is an introductory course, meaning that we're introducing you to special ed, exceptional learners. There's a lot that goes into it. You will learn a lot of this when you get in your own classrooms and start working. When some of us actually get placed into service learning, when you are in a resource room or CDC classroom, you're going to learn even more. So do not fret if you are feeling a little overwhelmed. You can reach out. I'm more than happy to meet with you in person, over the phone, um, virtually. I want to support you in this course, but I do want you to keep in mind that this is not a graduate level course. This is just introductory. And we do cover quite a bit. We don't narrow our focus, so there's a lot of different topics. So sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming, but please don't feel that way. I am here to support you. So before I get into module 4, I wanted to talk about the calendar and kind of go over a couple of things. I've had a few questions. So the course calendar is in two places. It's in our course syllabus, and then it's also underneath the Getting Started module, underneath the introduction for the instructor. So it's under that section. But I want you to see here, yes, we are working in module 4. But something that I do want to note is that if you're not paying attention to the calendar, I would like you to, because not only does it have what we're going to be working on and the dates that things are due, but it's going to show you when things are due for service learning. So I have been working with the service learning coordinator on getting you placed. Many of us have been able to turn their documents in. We're still waiting on a few people to turn in liability insurance and get their background check completed. I have emailed everyone separately so you know what you are missing. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. The next thing that you will have due is once all of your required documentation is submitted to the team, the service learning coordinator will then reach out to the schools. Now, she tries to place you at your request. So, whatever your first choice was, that's where we try to place you. She reaches out to the school system or the principals, depending on how the district wants us to do it. And then, if they agree for your placement, I will email you saying, your service learning placement has been approved. Sometimes I'll tell you who you're with or who you need to contact. At that point, I will attach what we call a referral confirmation form. The referral confirmation form is just a form where the principal and the mentor teacher you are placed with signs saying they agree to have you there for those 12 hours. Once you submit that back to the service learning team, I will email you the green light, which means that you may begin your hours. So keep in mind, just because I email you that your placement hasn't been approved doesn't mean you get to start your hours. We still have to have that referral confirmation form. Okay, so that's due on the 26th. So if you're like, wow, I've not even been placed yet, you may want to reach out to me or look and see what you're missing. Look at your emails. I've sent out emails yesterday. If you've submitted everything and you didn't get an email from me, that means that we're waiting on the schools to get back with us to agree to have you placed. But nonetheless, if you have questions or you're like, I still haven't heard anything, please reach out. I'm here to support you. I know it's a little bit trickier because we have to put things onto team, but again, the service learning coordinator does not have access to our course. Everything has to go into team. So, another thing that I want to kind of put on your radar is that we will have our one of our projects that is going to be due. Now, I did do a video on the course homepage, and if you haven't watched it, please go to the course homepage. It's the page when you first log into our class, that's the one it takes you to. It's kind of like a newsletter with a weekly video or our module video. if you will. I did one on the three projects. I do want to reiterate and clarify. Yes, you have three projects in this course. One of them is service learning. All of our education courses require service learning. That's just across the board. So that's one of them. In addition to service learning, you have two other projects. You have a co teaching assignment where you can either partner with someone or work alone. It's up to you. That is one of the projects. The other is what we call a choice based project. This is where I actually give you choice. You get to choose between looking at an article in teaching exceptional children. So you get to choose your article and you get to critique it and write a review. The other choice is you can interview a parent who has a child with special needs. And lastly, you can choose what we call a work based learning, which is where you get to work with either East or West High students and may accompany them to their work sites. So those are the three choices. I have had some people email me back. I'm still waiting on a few. I do need to tell you to tell me what your choice is, and anyone that's interested in the work-based learning, you still have questions and you're kind of considering it, just reach out to me. I'll be more than glad to meet with you, talk on the phone, or email you back and forth. But I just want you to choose the project that works best for you. But that is due on March 19th. So please go back and read course projects, read through them, read through the service learning module again. I know there's a lot of information in there. If you're like me, it takes me a couple times to go through things before I can grasp it. Really need to analyze what I'm looking at, and that may be what you need to do. But I am here to support you. So I just want to put those on your radar. So let's go ahead and look at what we're going to be doing this module. So we're working in module 4, which is partnering with families and advocating for students with exceptionalities. So this we're really going to look at how can you, like what role do you play in terms of collaborating with parents, right? So what role does the parents have or caregivers? And we're going to look at strategies to help us partner with them and collaborate. So that's really what our focus is going to be for this module. Now, what do I want you to get out of this? Well, I'm not going to read all this because you can read that on your own, but you'll see we're touching a lot of course outcomes. Now, remember, there's always learning objectives and then there's course outcomes. Those course outcomes are the outcomes that you should be able to master by the time you leave the end of the term when you're finished with my class. Every module has learning objectives. These are going to be the focus that we have during each module. So this module specifically, I want you to be able to define the term collaboration and identify the purpose and value of collaborative relationships. Explain the benefits of collaborative consultation for the classroom teacher. Summarize the characteristics and distinguish with multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary educational teams. And then lastly, identify the unique needs of parents of children with disabilities that may impact the teacher-parent collaboration. So that's really going to be your objectives for the module. I do have the keywords and concepts. I always encourage you to look at them. I group them because for my brain, this just makes sense. Instead of just putting a whole list on there, I want you to see kind of what role or what category they would fall under. So you'll see here family engagement, right? We're looking at linguistic responsive communication, culturally and linguistic to be specific. Screenings, evaluations, IEPs, what does that stand for? Individualized education plans. Transitions, what is that word? IFSPs, where those are called individual family support plans. Okay, so normally IFSPs are for early childhood. Those are for the littles, I call them, where when you have a plan, it's to support the entire family because many of them are not school age yet. And we would go in the homes and work with them, but you would have the family support plan, which would be a little bit different than the IEP, which is the individualized education plan, or sometimes we call them programs, right? And that is where they're already school age. So those are the differences there. What is a trusting relationship and understanding family hopes, goals, and cultural backgrounds. So those are just the concepts and terms. Now, in terms of advocacy, right? What does it mean when we say to advocate for families with them or to them? How do you become an advocate for children? Well, you do that by supporting them. What is inclusive practices and equitable access, right? And how are you as an educator advocating for those things? And then how do we navigate boundaries and communication structures, so you won't become burnout and stressed out. Then we look at collaborative relationships. What does that actually look like? What does that mean? So, part of that with collaborative relationships, it goes beyond just working with a parent, right? We have multidisciplinary teaming. A lot of this will happen when you are working with a student who has exceptionalities or special needs. So, you will have a team in place that could be you, the principal, the special ed teacher, it could be the doctor, obviously the family, it could be school psychologist, a nurse. So there's a lot of people, occupational therapists, physical therapy, speech. There's a lot of people that are on that team. And that's what we want you to realize, the different kinds of relationships when we talk about collaboration. And then we need to also look at what are those strategies. We want it to be effective, right? And everyone needs to feel like they have a part to play, they have a role. So there's that shared decision making piece. And then what kind of opportunities can you create so you can get the family involved? It's very important for that school to home, right, connection. So that's going to be something that's going to help you with collaboration. And then we need to look at barriers. There's always going to be some kind of barrier that we need to overcome. So, in terms of making partnerships with parents and others, we have to look at the types of barriers we see. Well, how do we keep parents engaged? Well, think about their culture, their background. So maybe English is not their first language, right? Or looking specifically at their culture. Maybe they feel like they're not smart enough, or they didn't do well in school, so they don't feel that they can talk to the teacher, so they shy away from that. There's those logistical barriers. Think about economically, or if they can get to where they need to. Maybe they don't have a car, so they can't come to the meetings or family functions. Maybe they don't have computer or internet at home to help with homework. So there's all these barriers that we have to figure out. How do we work around that? How do we support them through this? And what do I need to do? And sometimes it's all about resources. They're limited. So how is that a barrier, and how can we overcome it? And then when we talk about working with students in inclusive classrooms, right? We think about this environment where we have all these different types of learners, but we want everyone to feel like they have a voice and they want to feel welcomed. Well, how do you do that? What does that look like? What strategies do we need to put in place so we can have that? And then we look at universal design for learning. That's very important. That is a title in our book. Um, and how do we have these principles? How do we bring these principles in to help with collaboration and to communicate with these families? And then lastly, under UDL, that family component piece, that partnership's important. But when you are designing these experiences for these students, they're learning, we want to make sure it reflects who they are. We want input from the family. We look at their student needs, obviously their IEPs. There's a lot we have to look at. So make sure that we go through the keywords and concepts when you're going through these modules. Look at these. You're going to see a lot of this in your textbook. A lot of this is coming from your textbook. So make sure that you're looking at those. I also always have the standards here. I'm always looking at two standards. I do want to caution you that when you're looking at the co-teaching assignment, you will be required to put an in-task standard. An in-task standard is what we call a teacher preparation standard. These are the standards that teachers should be able to do. These are pre-service teachers. These are you. You're learning to be able to become a teacher all on your own, right? So we have standards. And when we're talking about family partnerships and collaboration, you can see that it hits quite a few standards. Learner development, learning differences, learning environment, leadership and collaboration. So it's hitting a lot of those standards. Excuse me. And then we have counsel for exceptional children. So this also hits a lot. So this module and everything that we're doing in this module is hitting learning environments, instructional planning and strategies, and then collaboration as well. Okay, so let's get down to our reading and resources. And again, the easiest way to figure out is I lay each module out the exact same in an organized fashion. It's very linear, if you will. So the first section is going to be just like giving you a description of an overview. We've got the module overview and outcomes. We got keywords and concepts, and then our standards. We have the in task and the Council for Exceptional Children. Then we have a section called Reading and Resources, which all of the things that are going to help you. And then if you scroll down, you have your activities and assessments. Now, these are things that you're going to do that you will be assessed on, or it could be reviews as well that help you prepare for your quiz. Okay. So let's go back up to reading and resources. I have quite a few things in here for you. I always tell students, even if you can't get through all of it, okay, always focus on reading the whole chapter. But if you can't get through all of the articles and all of the additional resources, you'll see here, I have an additional resource for you, these PowerPoints. Save them. Save them on your device. Use them. Go back later and pull them out. It's really going to be helpful for you. So we are reading chapter 7. But I did put some additional resources, and here's what I want you to say. Uh, I want you to say to yourself, excuse me, oh, I can do this later. Right now, my main focus is reading chapter 7. So, chapter 7 is there for you. These others are great resources for you when you have time. I don't know when that will be. Time is very, very crucial. We don't have a lot of it, so it's at a commodity right now, right? But look at them later. Like, for instance, I have one here that's a link to the Parent Training and Information Centers, also known as PTIs, and then Community Parent Resource Centers. So these are really great resources for parents. Okay, so if you're already a sub or you're working as a paraprofessional, think about these things. You can help your parents out, right? This is another link. This is a Q&A about part B of IDA, about parents, how you involve them, eligibility decisions, IEPs. And then, of course, this is from the Tennessee Special Education Framework. And this is talking about family engagement and collaboration in terms of like how do we plan for service delivery. So these are great resources for you. So just make sure that you read chapter 7, but if you can't, save these others for later. I always include the publishing company's PowerPoint and outline. I like to a lot of times use my own, but I just always include them because some students like them because it helps them study. So I went ahead and just include those for you. Now, I do really have an additional article for you. This is a great resource. It is Guidelines for Successful Parent Involvement. If you read anything besides chapter 7, I would definitely say read that. And then this video is also a great resource. It's Ann Turnball, and this is like a Vimeo audio video, but she's describing what it is to have a family professional partnership framework and what that framework looks like. It's a really great video. Now, if you're not a visual person and you don't like to excuse me, if you're not an audio person or visual and you don't want to watch and listen, I do have the transcript if you're more of a read write kind of person, so you can just skip the video and just go straight to the transcript. Again, I provide you with additional resources as well. So you have two presentations, PowerPoints, if you will. One is on focusing on parent rights, and the other one is really highlighting strategies for partnering and collaborating with parents. Okay. It doesn't seem like I'm gonna go back and check, but a lot of people haven't been using the ask the questions. I do put a thread in here where you can, at the end of each module, where you can post questions pertaining to specific modules, but a lot of people haven't been utilizing it so far this semester, which is fine, but it is there if you need it. I do check it about 2 times a week, and it's not just for me, students can answer questions too. But if you want to reach directly out to me, that is fine as well. But I just always like to mention that. Now, how are you going to be assessed? Well, I have a few things for you. Um, This actually, anytime I have you do iris modules, that's going to be part of your participation points, which goes points towards your overall grade average. Sometimes I put it in there as your overall grade for the week. This one is going to be those overall grade average. So what you're going to do is you're going to complete another iris module, and this is going to be on family engagement. Now, whenever you are in the IRIS modules, it comes up in another link. But what I wanted to caution you is that some people forget that there's an assessment. And this is what I'm talking about when I say complete the assessment. After you go through the IRIS module, at the very end, it's going to ask you some questions related to the module, meaning the answers come from the module. You're going to answer these questions. You have 5 of them. You can copy them and just paste them inside of a Word document with your answers. Um, but that's what I'm asking you to do. Again, this is going to be points towards your overall grade. This is your participation points. So you will get credit. I'm not making you just do this for nothing. But when you complete the IRIS module, you'll do that assessment. So again, the easiest thing is just to copy and paste it inside of a Word document, and then you'll just upload it, and I'll show you in a minute where to put it inside the Dropbox. Now, you will be completing an advocacy plan, and this is going to be going inside of a discussion board. You'll see it has a little discussion topic. So what you're going to do here is this is the link to get you to it, but I also have it here so you can read it ahead of time. But you'll see here, this is going to be about how do you collaborate with parents. So in chapter 7, you learned all about collaboration, consultation, educational teams, and working with families. So the purpose of this assignment is really help you understand collaboration in an inclusive classroom, right? And look at it through the lens of advocacy, where you advocate for parents. So you're going to see about how you as an educator will work together with families to support students who have exceptional needs or disabilities. So I have a scenario here for you. You're going to read the scenario and then you're going to answer the questions below. So here's the scenario. You are a general education teacher preparing for an IEP meeting for a student with a disability. The parents have expressed feeling overwhelmed and unsure whether their voices matter. How will you promote true collaboration among team members? How will you make sure parents feel respected and valued? Specific communication strategies you will use. Which team model, okay, you're going to pick one of them, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, or transdisciplinary, do you believe is most effective and why? And how your actions reflect teacher advocacy. Now, I do want you to get ideas directly from Chapter 7. It is important for you to read Chapter 7 before you do the discussion board assignment. Now, you will reply to at least 2 other classmates' posts. Now, I don't want you to just think about saying, I agree. I want you to go beyond that. I want you to analyze what they're saying, extend, and connect. Analyze, extend, connect. I always want you to kind of have that mantra when you're working in discussion board. So, to further explain what I mean by that, is I have some guidelines here for you when you're replying to classmates. Okay. I want you to think about addressing 2 of the following, either evaluating their collaboration plan, considering the parent's perspective, analyzing the team model, or extending the conversation. Okay, so I want you to pick 2 of these. So you're going to pick 1, 2, 3, or 4, 2 of them. And under each section, I have questions to help you think about how you want to reply to your classmate. So let's say you want to look at parent's perspective. So when you're reading the peers discussion post, think about, do their strategies truly make parents feel valued and heard? Did their strategy of support, what additional support did they put might help parents who feel overwhelmed? And then how might cultural, linguistic, or emotional factors affect the plan? So, really looking at these questions, looking at their post, you would kind of reply thinking about that. And you would do the same thing. Let's say you want to extend. So, maybe you tell them a new example of a consultation strategy they could use instead of what they had, or how could they strengthen teacher advocacy and write that, or maybe you have a communication strategy, that you would like to talk about with them based on what they wrote. So really just picking 2 of these and then kind of letting that guide your reply instead of I just agree. And one of the reasons why I did this differently than the last is because I felt like we were kind of saying the same things. And when you're reading it over and over, it kind of makes you feel like, okay, we need a new plan. So that's why I decided to try it this way. And I think this is going to help drive better discussion on this discussion board. So I'm curious to see your thoughts. I would love for you to email me back what you think about this new discussion board replies section. All right. So you will just click on the link. It's going to take you to the discussion board. You will read the same exact thing. Remember, you have to hit start a new thread. The rubric is there. Anytime we have a discussion, I put the rubric so it shows you the breakdown of the points for the rubric. Now, in addition to doing the discussion board, you do have to take your Module 4 quiz. I do have a Nearpod quiz review. It's kind of like a Quizlet. It's just a review. You're not getting graded on it. It's not an assessment. It's just there to support you, to help you study. There is the Module 4 quiz. It will close on February 26th, Thursday, February 26th. So it opens Friday. So I don't know when you're watching this, but you have as many attempts as you would like. I will take the highest attempt when the window closes. All right. This is actually one of my favorite sections because I feel like it's so important when we're talking about advocating for families who have children with special needs. So I really hope you take a lot from this module. And remember, if you have questions about service learning or your placement or any of the course projects, please feel free to reach out because I'm here to support you. I hope everyone has a great week. And until next time, take care.